Welcome back to this week's episode of Once. Welcome back. Oh, it's not even connected, bro.
What if I told you that the Trump administration has been quietly laying the groundwork for something that could impact the ocean forever, and all without international permission? Today, we're talking about a potential executive order that Trump's White House may in fact put into play, which will allow the United States to stockpile precious metals that have been mined from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. And to top it all off, if this is actually true, it would have to bypass international regulatory agencies to do so. So let's get into it. Let's see what they're talking about, what they're planning on doing, and what this could mean for our very beloved ocean. We're talking about materials like copper, lithium, cobalt. These precious metals are in everything and anything that you could think of, including things like this camera that recorded this video, the phone or computer you may be watching this video on, and even the mouse that you're using to navigate, hopefully to the like and subscribe buttons for OneSwell. It would be greatly appreciated. But you get my point. These metals are in everything and anything as far as technology goes. I know you've heard me refer to this as precious metals, or these metals as precious metals, but they're also being labeled as strategic metals or strategic resources. Just think about that. Why would something that has been laying at the bottom of the ocean, not bothering anyone or anything, be considered strategic? We'll get back into that a little bit later, but it's definitely something to think about. The US has identified these metals as something that is crucial to national security. So why are we going to the deep sea for these strategic metals? A major focus of Trump's administration was to eliminate reliance on foreign countries, particularly China and their resources. Because of that mindset, eyes turned to the deep sea, and all we saw was an American-sized opportunity. Enter the Metals Company, a Canadian mining company with keen interest in seabed mining. In 2020, they announced that they were in talks with the Trump administration, and if things went well, they would have the full support of the US government to go and actually begin mining efforts at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. This would completely bypass any international regulatory agencies that have been set and put in place. Now, it is worth noting that the United States has never fully recognized the International Seabed Authority, so that's probably why the Trump administration even thought in the first place to just get on with it, to get moving. They probably thought they had the green light because they didn't really care about the opinion of that agency. Basically, at the end of the day, a move like this would just signal to the rest of the world that we don't care and we don't need international approval to do anything. We'll just do it ourselves. That's a bold statement in the world of global diplomacy, but it's an even bolder statement when you factor in the potential environmental consequences that this may actually have. This wasn't random. Trump spent most of his presidency worrying about energy dominance and an economic nationalism, meaning that he was focused solely on our country's independence from reliance on other nations, specifically when it comes to tech, the military, supply chains, and even these precious strategic metals. He wants the US to control its own tech, its own military, its own supply chain, everything from oil to rare earth metals. During the US-China trade war, Trump's team found that this reliance on the supply chain as a vulnerability, not in the United States' favor. At the time, China was dominating the refining of these rare earth metals, and any disruption in that refining process could hit anything from smartphones all the way up to fighter jets. Imagine that. Deep sea mining wasn't just about industry. It's actually a lot to do with strategy. Seafloor metals were seen as a large part of a plan in the future to potentially decouple China and what they have going on all while insulating the US from a potential global supply chain shock. Now here's where things get a little bit dicey. The US is not part of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or the UNCLOS. That's the treaty that gives the International Seabed Authority the power to govern and regulate deep sea mining. This means, technically speaking, the United States does not have a seat at the table, and in fact has actually created a potential legal loophole that Trump's administration might be willing to exploit. But there's always the other side of the coin, and critics do say that this would violate the spirit of international law. Potentially, this could also allow for an even bigger resource grab in the future, not just by the United States, but other nations globally. So did the Trump administration actually go through with this? At this current moment in time, no information has surfaced. No one has gone public with that information as of yet, and neither Trump nor his officials have actually acknowledged the plan directly. But here's the thing, the fact that a privately held Canadian company openly discussed being in talks with the White House and Trump's administration shows that this might not actually be some backroom deal that we're never gonna know about, but that a plan might actually already be in motion. When President Biden took office in 2021, it appears that gears may have slowed, or at least shifted directions for now, because the Biden administration had a more cautious or precautionary way of looking at things and doing things, especially when it came to deep sea mining. It seems that Trump's administration has in fact laid down the map for the future and the plan that could be very, very easily backed, supported, and put into play. So here's the question for all of us to think about. Did or would Trump's administration go rogue and begin deep sea mining efforts at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean? It's possible, but one of the main concerns with him actually going ahead and doing something like this is that it would open the floodgates to every nation in the world to say, we do not care or regard international law, and we're going to do what we want when we want. Whether you support Trump or any of the presidents for that matter, it really doesn't make a difference. We're not here to talk about politics, but it does go to show you how an agenda from an administration, along with resource scarcity and global power, all come together, and in this case, all come together in the deep sea. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should the US actually begin mining the seafloor and say we don't care about international law? Or should the United States and other nations follow the procedure and answer to the actual governing agencies in charge of these things? If you want more ocean stories or news and you like content in this format, please do not forget to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel, and it is greatly, greatly appreciated. And as always, remember that together we can make a difference one swell at a time.